So let me shift this up a little bit here. In the beginning stages of piano learning, you're most likely to use your left hand to play the notes that are written down here, and the right hand to play the notes that are written up here. This thingamajigger, or what's it, is a treble staff. It's also called, it's called the treble staff because the treble clef is resting on it. And this is actually the treble clef, and it curls around the line that is G. And when you put a treble clef onto a staff, it becomes the treble staff. This is the bass clef, a backward C with two dots. They show that that line is F. And when you put a bass clef on a staff, the 5 lines and 4 spaces are called the staff. Then that becomes the bass staff. For playing the piano, you need them both. So you put a bar line and a brace, and this is called the grand staff. When you have, and sometimes you can have 2 treble staves or 2 bass staves, depending on what range of the piano you want to be playing on. But for our purposes, this is going to be right hand playing on the treble staff and the left hand playing on the bass staff, and they'll be joined together to make a grand staff. Every staff has 5 lines and 4 spaces. Back in early music history, like the medieval ages or whenever they started writing, it depends on how many notes they were using. They might have 2 lines, they might have 3 lines, they might have 13 lines. And then over time, people sort of codified the way you wrote music, and it became 5 lines and 4 spaces, but they can add little extra lines if they want to, and we'll get to that later. So music can be unmeasured, but most of the time it is measured so that we know that the same number of counts are in each measure. And in this instance, the time signature here tells you how many counts are in each measure. When the 4 is on the bottom, it means you count the quarter note as your basic pulse, because 4 quarter notes equal the whole note. And when there's the number on top will tell you how many quarter notes are going to be in each measure. So in a 4/4 time, you'd have like 4 quarter notes, or 2 half notes, or 2 quarter notes and a half note, or vice versa, or anything that adds up to 4 quarter notes. And these bar lines divide the music into their measures, and a double bar line ends the music. Shows you that's the end. You can have line notes that are written on a line, or space notes that are written between 2 lines inside of a space. This is the note head, and this is the stem. So on this page, they're showing you that middle C can float next to the treble staff, and it's right here on the piano keyboard. And the space above it is D. So if you were going to fill this in, you'd say, well, this is a C, and that's a C, and that's the D, and that's a C, and that's a D, and that's a D, and that's a C. Sometimes you can have notes that are next door to each other, like the C and the D, and they'll just put one stem between them, and it means you play both notes at the same time.